Evening, everybody, and welcome to Just a Little Bit in our special Wednesday run of Proclaimers of Heroes. In Proclaimer of Heroes, our adventurers will be stepping away from the limelight as they take on the role of Mousaei, mortal agents of the Muses who are charged with finding future heroes and helping them become ready to take their place in legend. On the word of gods and oracles, our Mousaei will search the lands of a mythical ancient Greece for heroes and that they can inspire and help plan so that they can become heroes that take on monsters, disasters, and more. I'm your narrator, Evan, and I'll be guiding you through our adventure tonight into the mists of legend. Last we left our Mousaei, they had arrived in the village of Oropos, on the edge of the lands claimed by Athens. This once bustling port is now under a dark shadow as their crops rot in fields turned toxic, and citizens fall prey to attacks that leave them in unwaking slumber, victims of a strange beast loose in the wilderness surrounding Oropos. Several of our Mousaei received a cryptic vision from the local oracle. There is a hero in Oropos who bears the mark of Athena who will face the creature, and another who will disappoint them. If our Mousaei select the wrong hero, they risk ruin for Oropos and the loss of their mission. Meanwhile, Christos and Nico visited Oropos to begin the hunt for rumors of the strange creature and for the prospective heroes. Now they have two leads, the cocky soldier Demetrius and the reclusive huntress Tali. Which is the true hero in waiting? Let's dive in and find out. The path takes you back to Oropos is worn by many feet, and it's clear that the town has long experienced being a hub of trade. Although, weirdly enough, for such a potentially busy port, you see few on the road, passing only one or two large groups of people moving nervously down the pathway as you return from the Oracle. Just as you crest over a small rise, you can see before you Oropos in the distance, a ship actually coming into the port from where you can see, and the fields around you, many of which have grown an off-colored dark brownish black that leaves you realizing that the earth below bears the smell of decay and the rot of the fields that you were warned of before. You can see that there are several people shuffling through the fields, seemingly distracted, as they seem to be trying to recover what, if any, of the harvest that they were trying to grow is still good. At the same time, Nico and Christos, you find yourself in the port not too far from there, having just seen Demetrius claim to be the greatest of heroes and champions of Oropos. As you are trying to decide what next to you, you hear a loud scream of fright and a call that comes out. There's something wrong with them. And you see a woman come running into the center of the port, skidding to a stop and sort of throwing herself onto one of the shoulders and kind of shaking him roughly. You have to do something. They went out into the field and now there's something terribly wrong with them. I don't know what it is, but they attacked everybody else.
So the three of them hear this, right?
You hear this, Nico and Christos. This person ran into the port. So the port is very close to the farmland. And so basically she came running and screaming.
So Chris is just literally just going to throw an elbow into Demetrius's ribs and be like, well, you said you were a hero. I'm waiting.
You've come to the right place then. And you see he reaches down and picks up the shield that was sitting next near him, and he grabs his spear, and he starts off at a run off in the direction that the woman had pointed.
Gonna run after him.
Do you want me to follow?
Well, I mean, I think he's the hero, so maybe.
Do we think he's the hero? Okay. And Nico will follow too.
Did the three girls make it into the port in time to see them running after
you
him?
See the figures that you saw shuffling around. Several of them you realize have broken out into, like, basically they're charging after another group, and they seem to have broken into a fight at the edge of the field. And you see that several of them seem to be trying to get away, while the others seem to be trying to grab them and pull them back. And you see one viciously grab one of the people who's trying to flee and throw them to the ground, and there's a bag of what they feel most likely full of what produce they could salvage, goes crashing to the ground and spreads across the field. As it does, you see the figure dive down and just start violently shoving food into its mouth in the distance. As though it's just like it's starving, just needs to be fed immediately.
Is that normal behavior for Greeks? Oh god, what voice was I doing? Yeah.
I mean, I don't. Like Theodore looks like visibly kind of like this is like ew, gross. This is not her cup of tea at all. And I'm like, oh no, there's something going on. I mean, or that, or like, girl is hungry.
Phoebe is already just head quirked, kind of wandering off towards the scene.
Antigone's gonna follow, being like, "Guess I gotta do this. I will stop this right at my goddamn self."
When you see Demetrius come bolting out from between several of the buildings, a large kind of stacked Greek soldier openly wearing the seal of Athens, who comes basically comes running out from between the buildings and charges right into one of the figures. You see him slam shield first into the one of the figures trying to hold someone down, knocking that person to the ground. And he sort of skids to a stop, and you see him kind of loosen up his shoulders like he's getting ready to fight. And he's got his spear lowered.
I just straight up want to spend a plot point to use one of my blessings.
Okay.
One of the special effects for my blessings. For my players in the story, spend a plot point to get a vague sense of a hero's abilities. And if I can tweak that enough to say, I want to see which and if any gods are empowering him.
Well, so you focus on Demetrius and you channel the power of getting to know more about the story. And as you do, you very faintly in the back of your mind hear the cry of a owl at night, like the soft screech of an owl, and you hear almost the faintest rustle of feathers as a brush of a wing comes right across the side of your head.
Well, he's certainly an interesting one.
And I would say that knowing a bit about their abilities, you would know that he's currently enjoying the benefit of an Aegis that helps protect him from damage and increases his speed.
Very interesting. Let's see how this one plays out. And
So-
Phoebe's just going to kind of stand at the edge of the action watching.
So Demetrius just shield tackled one. How many others do I see that are visually aggressive?
Dozen of them now, and there are villagers trying to get away from them. So it's a little spread out over this one field. It looks like there was one or two of the fields that were still very successful, and they were currently trying to salvage whatever they could from that field that still had ripe produce. And it's some of the people coming from the other fields now, swarming in from the ones that were damaged. As you've gotten closer, I will say, Christos and Nikos, you sort of arrive, the three of you who are returning from the Oracle all arrive. You see that those who are sort of in this furious rage, their faces are this noticeable gray pallor. There's these huge bruises under their eyes, and they're slavering. There's just drool running down their faces, and as they're just shoving food into their mouths, they just seem ravenous, and their eyes are completely vacant.
This might even be beyond me.
And as you're doing that, you hear some of the villagers are trying to get away. They're trying to fight to keep them away from the food and just screaming Theodora, leave me alone!
Soldier boy over there might need some help. And then Antigone's gonna go try to not kill the ones who are attacking, but try to get in the way long enough for the villagers who aren't possessed to get away.
So you're going to take a test against them to try to distract them.
Yes.
All right.
I'm burning through plot points at this point. I'm gonna spend a plot point to use my special effect. She educated. To recall a piece of helpful trivia as a D8 asset, and I'll assign it to Antigone. As I noticed something about weird mystical hunger, and that sparks something in my brain, and
you realize pretty quickly that it's clear that they're far more interested in the food than they are any of the villagers. In the instances where people are dropping the food, they're taking the time to eat rather than attack the other villagers. But at any point where they get between the creature and the food, they will take the person down viciously to get to the food.
So I'll just super helpfully be like, Antigone, use the food.
If I can find one of them that's like super focused on like the food and they're kind of like distracted, I want to see if I can go up and like spend a plot point to try to like touch them and hopefully not die, like have them turn around and try to fight me, to use my echoes of the past to figure out like what is going on with them, to see their recent past.
You can do that, and but Antigone was going to try to roll to distract some of them, so I'm going to give Antigone the chance to do that first.
Okay, so test. It's an attribute, a value, a distinction, and then
whatever else is relevant from your
I have a specialty in this case that is relevant.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to roll athleticism. I'll do justice even though it's smaller because it's the like, y'all are fucked, I should go help you.
All right, so
And
for the
then
test, I rolled an 8
Games
against
of Heroes. Hold on. Sorry, I'm trying to math and my brain is just not working.
Mm-hmm.
8, 6,
It's
8,
mathematical.
6. Okay, and then remind me that asset. I can roll it after I roll my dice?
No, you have to roll it with your dice.
Okay, and
There
I have
is
to use it now.
nothing except for hero dice that you can roll after after a roll is rolled.
Okay, and then so this asset I have to use now or lose it.
You would have it until for the rest of the scene.
It's
Okay.
just specifically relevant to them.
Yeah, I'll roll it. Why the fuck not? And then, sorry, you said you rolled a what?
I rolled an 8.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, I rolled a 12 to set the difficulty.
Shit. That'll do. 13.
13. Okay, so you
And then
do
effect die of like an 8.
have an 8. Okay, so you do remove one of the one of the dice from this mob. So what we're doing is this is a mob. They have their own roll. They have their own like pool of dice that they use to dictate how difficult they are. A lot like when I set difficulty pools. So what you've done is you've removed some of them. So you kind of get in the way, and you're using some tactics as well as what little food is there to distract them, to pull them away, so that some of the villagers could escape.
Seeing Antigone attempt to distract the mob and not being completely successful, Chris is going to step up and say, "Oh, you want to cause a scene? I can do that." And Christos will attempt to distract the mob using my All the World's a Stage transmutation. And I'm literally just going to like pick up a bunch of dead, decaying stuff and then turn it into just like a giant deli sandwich.
Okay, you can turn it into a giant deli sandwich. You're using your ability, so you're just spending a plot point.
I am spending a plot point to create exactly the tool I need as a D8 asset.
Yeah, so you would have that as an asset for yourself now. And your asset is a deli sandwich.
I will use my logos, but I'm going to
Mhm.
forgo using my logos in order to gain a plot point back
Okay.
for my one special ability. I'll use my reading as fundamental distinction. And my value will be justice. No. Is it justice? I think it's hospitality. I'm trying to be
Okay.
hospitable to my villager friends. And I'm literally just going to be like, Mama, no. You don't want people. You want the sandwich. It's a tasty sandwich. Come shove it in your mouth. It's 15.
Okay. I actually should have set the difficulty for that since it's yeah, it's only a 13, so the 15 would win.
And I have a D8 left over.
D8 left over? Okay, so you remove another of the dice from the pool. So you do manage to do a good job of, like, several of them just fall onto the food, and as they start to eat, you see that some of that craziness starts to fade from their eyes, And after a minute, they're like confused, looking at their hands and looking around at the other villagers, and you can see that they're all starting to clear out. You can see that Demetrius at this point has been swarmed by several of them as he tried to get between them and the food, and is currently sort of like, he is doing a decent job of fighting them off, but you can tell that he's hesitating to actually use like lethal force. So he's bashing them back with his shield, but he has left his spear to just like hit them with the butt of the spear.
He gets points for that one. And Chris just like point to all the other Mousaei and be like, see, saving villagers, not killing them.
He does seem to have the same author as Kara. And
I'm sorry. What are we? Sorry, I got distracted. The mouse left my room, and I got really distracted. Sorry.
Discussing the validity of Demetrius.
I also
and how much we hate him.
Out of the pool, and I think we still have at least one dice left in the pool that somebody has to
take
care of.
There are still some villagers running around going crazy, and like Demetrius is not getting any help with his rolls, so he's not actually making a lot of progress.
Okay, thank you. Antigone, having handled her shit, will see that he's having troubles and go pull the rest of them off of him.
Yeah, I was gonna say Nico was gonna go over and join. Nico's plan was to actually skewer a few pieces of food on an arrow and go look over here and fire it off in a different direction.
Look over there.
So why don't you roll, since you hadn't gotten a chance to do anything yet against the dice pool? And I will tell you that the difficulty for this is a 12.
So can I say I'm using Logos because I don't really care where I shoot it. I'm just shooting it and trying to get their attention to direct it away.
The answer is yes.
So I'm going to use Logos. I'm going to use Child of Light and Song because that's where my growing up is where I learned archery stuff. I'm going to use... Yeah, I'll do Hospitality as well. And then I will also use my archery specialty.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, that was not great on any of those rolls.
Mm-hmm. I remember telling me if there's any ones.
No ones, but it was only 8.
8? Okay, so you would fail for that roll, and you're going to get a, let's say a d6 of... You're going to get a d6 of wrath as you go to fire the arrow, and you loose it, and it's very clear that by the time you actually fire the arrow, you've lost the attention of the villagers, and one of them comes running into you and slams into you as it's going past you to get to the actual food that's behind you.
I was trying to help you and not shoot you!
And you look down and you realize that there's just a smear of whatever black, sludgy stuff was in the fields just covering the front of your tunic.
Christos, this is after one of your bad nights out.
Boys, let a Spartan show you how it's done. And what Antigone would like to do is go up to the ones that are still on Soldier Boy, because I still don't know his name, and basically just grab 2 of them and just do and knock their skulls together.
Okay, so you're just going to try to fight some of them?
Just try to stun them enough to where I can start to see, okay, some of them are coming back to themselves, they just need a minute.
Yeah, so why don't you give me a roll? I will accept the test for you, which is, this is much lower. This is just a 6.
Now I'm not going to roll Justice, because this is no longer about helping people. This is just about knocking some heads, and so I'm going to do a Reet instead.
Okay.
But would you still get your trivia asset?
Already used it. And you said it was what?
It would still count. You would still have the trivia asset.
Huh. I'll take 2. I'll take another 8. Thank you. 16.
16 definitely beats it. It's a heroic success. So you can have... I have a D8 in my pool, so you can have one of the D8s. Is a hero dice.
Fabulous.
16 definitely beats it. It's a heroic success. So you can have... I have a D8 in my pool, so you can have one of the D8s. Is a hero dice. Fabulous. 16 definitely beats it. It's a heroic success. So you can have one of the D8s. Is a hero dice. And you have removed a dice from the pool, which leaves us down to just the one dice that's left. I'm going to say Demetrius is actually going to take his roll against the pool.
I'm going to use Help the Hero to give him a D8 heroic asset.
I'm fine with that.
Just like, you, blessed of Athena, you can do it!
You're just by psyching him up?
Yeah.
He's going to get 14 against 6. So he also gets a heroic success and picks up a D8 to put into his pool. And he definitely wins. So you see him, there's several of them coming at him. He like kind of ducks behind his shield. And as you sort of psych him up, for a second you swear you can see the crest on his shield sort of spread its wings and give a flap. And as it does, he slams out with his shield with such force that several of them just go flying backwards. And then you can see him spin the back of his spear, and as 3 more come up, he just cracks right across 3 of their faces, knocking them unconscious. As he looks around for a second, you realize that the few that are remaining who seem to be affected by the hunger have found some source of food, in particular like that sandwich that Christos is using, and are finishing it. And as they do, you can see that the like rage that filled them is just starting to... They're starting to lose it as they sated their hunger. They look around and realize that, like, you're super confused about what's happening. There's a couple villagers that show signs of having been minorly injured, but no one is severely injured. And the majority of what they had harvested earlier seems to still be in good condition.
Can I make a roll to see if I recognize like the specific effect on people, to be like, oh, this is from da-da-da magic or anything like that?
Yeah, if you wanted to try to like sort out what you thought was going to be the difficulty for this, you could try to figure out like what the source of this kind of magic is.
Yeah.
A giant evil goose.
And while Phoebe is doing some like investigating and whatever, I feel like Chris is just gonna walk over to Demetrius and like brush some dirt off of his shoulder and be like, well, this was okay. I mean, you definitely have some things we can work on, but this is a solid starting place.
Did you see what happened? Those villagers were acting so weird. I know. And he like points down to 2 of them that are unconscious. I was in the tavern drinking with those 2 yesterday.
And like Christos is still just like straightening his armor, brushing off, polishing it, making sure he looks real good. Like, okay, I understand, but like you need to look good for the picture that's going on the urn. So like, can you try to...
Christos, do you know this person?
Oh, Antigone, this is Demetrius. He's the hero to be.
One of 2 options for the hero to be. The Oracle had quite a lot to tell.
And Chris is gonna look at Demetrius and like look at himself, and then look at Demetrius and be like, "Well, I'm spoken for, so like, I see one option."
See, that's the thing. So one of the many things the Oracle spoke of was that there were 2 options, and if we choose the wrong one, the Gander wins. It also explains this.
I believe our second option can be found in a glade nearby.
And you hear this heavy sound of horses' hoof falls as they come charging down the pathway. As the horse kind of pulls up just ahead of you, you see that there are 2 people who are obviously unconscious and sort of like strapped to the back of the horse, and then there's a woman sitting on the horse, bow on her back, long hair sort of flowing behind her, dressed in like loose hunter's garb, and she drops down and she goes, "So it happened here too. These people attacked my home. I was hanging out a deer to skin it, and they came pouring into my clearing and attacked me. I brought them back because I assumed something must be wrong with them, and I see that there's more here."
Would
Talia?
I don't know you.
Oh, good. They're both in the same place. Isn't this fun? Yes, they were filled with rage and hunger and decided to attack the field. They're mostly all right. A couple of them have a couple sore heads.
That's concerning. Are
The
they
game
like
is getting
the people
worse.
who've been attacked by the creature?
The Gander's getting stronger.
And when you say the gander, she like cuts a look at you to the side. Like it's that very much like camera pans in. She looks at you. What do you mean the gander?
Oh, the Oracle. We went to see the great big monster that sold. Wait, I don't know that. Never mind. Sorry, start over. We just been to the Oracle. The Boeotians set a curse on this place, since if they couldn't have it, no one could. What did she call it again? The Gander of what?
Oropos, it's the name of the city we're in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Gander of Oropos. Salt the fields so nothing can grow, fill the people with rage. Sort of clever, actually.
That is unusual. And you say the Boeotians did this?
According to the Oracle.
I mean,
depends on how much you believe oracles.
Many of the people who live here are Boeotian themselves. Like this village was part of Boeotia only a few short months ago.
From what the Oracle said, it was specifically the Boeotian army. They decided if they couldn't have the village, then no one could.
That is unusual.
Nico, you said this person's been helping with the issue?
Yeah, several people in town told me that this wonderful lady here has been helping bring some of the affected people back to town and get them help from a rather pleasant woman at the temple of Asclepius.
So you've met her. Yes, I don't live in the village myself. I live in the forest just out of it, and I come across a couple of the travelers here and there who are affected by whatever this creature is, and I just brought them back to town. It was no big deal. And she's like, just like these two I brought here. And she turns around to take the to untie the bodies that are trapped to the back of the horse. She's like, this should be fine. I only knocked them unconscious. You can see that she, on her quiver behind her, emblazoned on the back is the symbol of the Medusa's head.
So they've both got a mark. That makes things tricky. And Antigone's going to look to the two of them. Well, good news. One of you can help.
And she turns back to you and is like, I've already helped.
No, forgive me. The Oracle spoke of a hero who would be able to defeat the Gander and save your town. But that there were two potentials. And if the wrong one gets picked, well, the Gander wins.
I don't put a lot of stock in what oracles have to say.
See, normally I don't either, and I've seen a lot of bad ones, but this one... I'm inclined to take it at face value.
Oh, see, I was leaning towards him and, like, pointing at Demetrius, but now I kind of like her. But... Indeed, this particular prophecy did carry some significant weight, so it seems like useful information to work off of.
Would you all give us a minute to compare notes? A lot of us aren't caught up on what happened.
I feel like Christus is like gonna reach into his bag, pull out like a little picnic blanket, give it a toss, slap it down, pull out another apple or something out of the bag and like lounge and be like, okay, so like, tell me about your lives. Which one of you is, good-hearted? Which one of you is an asshole? I mean, he's already an asshole, but I mean, there has to be something wrong with you, too.
And she crosses her arms, much like mine are crossed, and just sort of looks you up and down as you lay down on the... And she goes, and who are you supposed to be?
Oh, I've been waiting for someone to ask this. And Antigone's going to put an arm up. Go, we are the Mousaei, servants of the Muses and proclaimers of heroes. Y'all are welcome.
Thank you.
And you see Demetrius, after a moment, gives a little, like, what you would know to be the hand gesture of a little, like, prayer to Athena when you say that. And the woman just sort of looks at you all, like her eyes sort of scan across all of you, heavy with skepticism. And she goes, I don't really put much stock in priests. If you're here to try to sell me on a religion. Like, I'm aware that the gods are there, but I don't...
Whoa.
We're not priests.
I mean, I used to be a priest. But that's a separate issue.
Phoebe's just gonna plop down next to Christos and like pull out a notebook and be like, "So he's an asshole, you say? I mean, that could be his fatal flaw. That sometimes for a hero, that's a good fatal flaw." And the Oracle did mention that we should be wary of their fatal flaw.
I feel like
Phoebe,
Christos
do you remember the Oracle also said, "Be wary of the tale we tell." And Phoebe, Antigone's going to give you a look like, "Don't ham this up."
Chris is gonna like lean into Phoebe, like, you know, best gay friend gossiping. Yeah, he's totally a dick. But you know, he kind of like looks like a hero, and like the people in town like him.
As you say
Antigone's going to
that,
sniff the...
he kind of like gives a little like flex. You can clearly see him like flexing in his armor, so you can see how big his arms are.
Theodore rolls her eyes at you, Christos, and goes, "What do you mean he looks like a hero?
Also,
Just because he's big?"
Also, the people I talked to did not like him.
No. Don't get me wrong. Like, you don't need to be big, but like the shield, the spear, the Athenian warrior ready to defend the village. Like, he just fits the model of what a hero's supposed to be.
Oh yeah, he's definitely main character material. He's got a touch of hero about him. We could work with this one.
Antigone's going to quickly, for the two who weren't there, read off the prophecy that they wrote down. You know, there's two heroes. One has the mark of Athena, one's fake. Choose the right one, we win. Choose the wrong one, the Gander wins. There's a sword.
I feel like you explained the prophecy, and Chris just goes, and look, he has the bracer with the bird on it. And she has what? A quiver with the Medusa head?
Don't you know anything that's also a symbol of Athena?
I feel like Christos says the side eye and like looks at Phoebe and Theodora with like the is that true?
Theodore just does like a very small nod. Not like very big, just enough to be like, "It is."
I know things.
It's
I want to know
less.
Christos's piety is his 4.
I mean,
Fair.
my piety isn't high either, but I just know things.
Mine's an 8.
It's a less often used symbol. It's not as popular of a motif, but Athena was involved with the creation of the original Gorgon, so the Medusa could theoretically be her symbol as well. Phoebe's still just like kind of head in her notebook, scribbling away.
So then, new plan. Nico, you work your magic, and they become a couple, and then like collectively, they're a hero.
I mean, Nico starts reaching back into their quiver.
I don't know if we have time for that. If today's events are any stretch, then this is only getting worse, and we still have a sword to go find.
Nobody said anything about finding a sword. I found a hero.
Um,
I found 2 heroes.
Antigone did. I did just tell you about this. It was included in the prophecy. Remember the one that I just told you?
Yeah, the prophecy, but like, boss lady didn't tell me that I had to listen to a prophecy. She just told me to found a hero.
Have you done this before? You find the hero, you find the thing the hero needs, and then the hero does the thing. We're only on step 1.
No. See, when I do this, I find the hero, and then we just tell the hero to do the things.
Do either
And
of
like
you know how
as
to
you're
make
all
a
saying this,
sword?
Talia is just looking from one to the other as you're speaking, and she goes, "You're touched in the head, aren't you?"
Isn't
Phoebe's just gonna
everybody?
look up with her like Jylin Zoe Deschanel purple eyes and be like, "What makes you say that?"
What incentive would any of us have to deal with a monster to help these people?
Well, let's see. And Nico is going to snap and use a plot point and going to create lifelike illusion of what Talia desires.
Spicy.
Okay, so what does Talia desire?
Clearly, she doesn't desire helping people. So, like, that's
using my distinction, blessing what the heart wants.
What the heart wants? Yeah, no.
What a girl wants, what a girl needs.
You see, I will say that you create the illusion of a soldier who is standing there looking at Talia, and as she sees it, you see just her eyes shimmer just a little bit with like unshed tears as she looks at the figure, and sort of stares off into space, looking at the figure of the soldier that you summoned.
What does the soldier look like?
Uh,
Like, is he wearing Greek armor, Boeotian armor? Do we know what that is?
I will say that would require you to make some checks. This is a test.
Does anyone else also want to make those checks? Because being smart is not Nico's thing.
Theodora
No.
will help you.
And technically everyone can see the illusion, right? Or is it
Everyone
just...
everyone can see the illusion.
Christos
Theodora
is gonna
will help you
assist
out.
by doing his best impersonation of Talia for the 3 minutes that he's known her, and like leaning on the soldier.
Just completing the picture.
I will burn one of the dice for my Doom pool, and I got to add another result, and I have a 13. Is the test.
Is Nico asking Theodora for help?
Yes. Theodora, anything?
And I'm just like, oh, give me a second as I like actually like pay attention to the figure. Okay, so I'm gonna do senses because that's perception and awareness. I mean, I guess I could use ingenuity. I was thinking more like if I'm just looking at this to be like, am I noticing Greek armor, not Greek armor? I'm gonna go with senses. And then I'm gonna go with, for my value, I'm gonna go with truth, because I'm trying to get to the truth of the matter. For my distinction, I'm gonna use my what is going on here on this day, which is like trying to pick up on subtleties or like
Okay,
trying to read like a situation.
that makes
then-
sense. That fits.
And then could I add in my specialty for local customs because it's like it's like knowledge of.
Absolutely, that is 100% a
city-states?
specialty that would be relevant.
All right, let me roll this and pray.
I say a little prayer for you.
That would be an 18.
Oh well, that is definitely a success and a heroic one at that. So you can have the D8 from my pool as a hero dice.
Tay doesn't believe it. No, I rolled a D10 and got a 10 and a D8 and got an 8.
It's a good roll.
As opposed to my 3 3s I rolled before.
What heroic die? You said you gave me a D8 from your.
A D8, yeah. My pool had a
Okay.
D8 in it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, but of course, as you take a look at his uniform, what he's dressed as is what you would consider more to be like mercenary armor. So it doesn't bear any of the marks of either Athens or the major cities of Boeotia. So you're not seeing anyone's like livery. But what you do notice after a moment, as you look more closely, is that he has a set of bracelets around his wrists, and you do recognize them as Boeotian in their make from your time working with your father.
I feel like I just like lean over to Nico and be like, he's Boeotian.
Oh, star-crossed lovers. Unless she's also Boeotian. At which point they wouldn't be very star-crossed.
I mean, like she said, a lot of people here are Boeotian. It's not the people that are the issue. It's that the government who lost this place decided to say, fuck it.
While they're all whispering about where he's from, Chris is literally just gonna like hang off of the illusion and be like, so like, is ex lover, brother, uncle.
And she like turns to look away from you, and she goes, "It's my brother."
See, so like you want to be reunited with your brother, or do you want to like save him? Because like heroes can save people. That's like the job.
It's a good origin story.
My brother was working for the Boeotians as a mercenary. I don't know what happened to him after they lost the battle for the region. But some coin and some favor could help me find out what happened to him. Is that something you could do?
Well, the thing is, we're looking for someone who's going to kind of be the protector of the town, and the wandering hero vibe that you're going for might not suit this particular situation.
Or they might give her the coin that they want because they're so happy that the goose is dead.
I mean, also, you make a name for yourself, and your brother hears it and comes back to find you because he knows where you're at.
I mean, they're both strong contenders. We still have to find the sword. It's always a good idea for the second act to send the heroes off to find the item needed to complete the quest.
And as you say that, Demetrius goes, "What sword?"
In the Tomb of Amphitryon, the oracle spoke of a sword that would be key to defeating the Gander. That to find it, we need only follow the Pegasus. I never said it was a clear prophecy.
Well, I mean, story around town is a couple of the locals have seen Pegasuses in the mountain nearby.
So, which one of you is better at tracking Pegasi?
And he, as you ask that, he like looks back at you and is like, I mean, I'm not really a tracker by trade. I'm a soldier. Most of the problems come to me. And she's like, I'm a tracker. I'm a huntress. I know the mountains fairly well.
I have a thought. What if we bring both of them to the tomb, and then we decide there?
So, like, didn't the prophecy say we're supposed to pick one and back them? Because if we pick wrong, bad things happen. That was like the gist of the prophecy. So, like, shouldn't we pick before we spend time and resources and effort and energy in both of them, and just help the actual hero? Unless light bulb, ready. We send them both to get the sword, and whichever one gets it is the hero, because, I mean, only a hero could pull off such a great feat.
Or the one
Unless
that's
you
not
wait
the
for
hero.
someone, unless you wait for someone to take the sword and then knock them unconscious when they're not looking. Like, that's 101 evil villain.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe that's just using your strengths.
I don't like it. You just don't want to go hike through the mountains.
I never said such a thing.
But it's true.
I mean, realistically, we're not meant to get too directly involved. It's better for this story if the heroes do things themselves.
Yeah, but we still need to pick one.
I mean, neither of them really have, like, a noble motivation. He's just kind of a vain asshole who wants people to love him, and she is kind of just self-interested.
And, like, when you say that, his brow furrows a little bit, and he's like, hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
Did I say there's something wrong with it?
Says
I'm just
you.
stating facts.
I mean, I'm here to do it because I want to prove that I'm a hero and that I'm the best.
Because you want people to fawn over you, and you want wealth and fame and fortune.
What do heroes do is it not?
Point made.
Talia, was it? Why the Medusa?
It was a gift from our father. It's a token to ward off dangerous animals. It's the Aegis.
I mean, my only idea of how to decide which who's which is to have both of them fight me. But I don't know if that's going to help here.
I mean, doesn't that just prove that they could both kick your ass?
Not if I win.
I was gonna say, I don't know if that's the true measure of a hero, though, right? Isn't it what's in their hearts?
I mean, I got nothing.
I will say she helped the townspeople of her own, like, free will and just to help people, and he's kind of helping people because he's getting paid for it. So, like, that's some selflessness, right?
Christos, how'd you find this soldier in particular?
I mean,
Or did you meet him when he was running into fight?
he's the local hero. I literally said, point me to the local hero, and they pointed to the big, tall soldier.
I wasn't there, just curious.
He goes, yeah, I mean, in our garrison here in town, I'm the one with the most time out in the field. I've been in multiple battles during the skirmishes back and forth, and I fought I fought this thing not too long ago.
Wait, you actually seen it?
I mean, I didn't really get a great look at it. It was dark at the time.
That might have saved your ass.
I was enjoying the company of one of the other soldiers, and we were out on the outskirts of town, and it was dark, and it sort of crept up on us and took us by surprise.
Enjoying the company, eh? Tell me more. It might give us clues.
Nico.
I don't feel comfortable with that.
You don't have to answer that. Be grateful it was dark. This monster has something of a paralytic effect, apparently.
The way I see it, Phoebe's going to point to Demetrius and be like, this one's the more obvious choice, but he's probably going to require more editing. That is to say, help from us. And then point to Talia and be like, this one's a little bit more of an unusual tale, so I don't think we'd have to get as directly involved, but it's not going to be the usual route. That's the way I see our choices, if we're going to pick one before we send them off to the sword.
Should we put it to a vote?
Or we just shove them both into the tomb and see which one runs away screaming.
That was my suggestion. You said no.
I mean, I think it's a waste of time to get them both up there. You know, what if they both get the sword at the same time, and then they fight over it, and one of them stabs the other one, and then we have a dead person to deal with?
Well, then at least our option pool has gone down.
And it would provide bait for the gander.
I think we send both heroes on a trial by fire. It makes the most sense.
Yeah, neither one's obvious.
Theodore just points to the sky and be like, and you know those ones love competition, so...
Okay, Chris is going to do another...
Yeah, they're both sort of assholes in their own way, and so I can't really decide which one I like better.
Quick grab bag, grab like a robe and a laurel, spin around in his best like Zeus impersonation. Okay, mortals, this is the plan. Up there, somewhere in the mountains. This way. There's a tomb.
And
there's a sword.
Talia, as you're pointing around, like reaches over and pushes your hand towards the mountainside that's in the distance.
That way, yes.
Yes.
There's a tomb, there's a sword. Whichever one of you brings it back here by morning, we're going to make it to the next hero of Greece. And then he's going to plop back down, eat the apple again.
So you're just going to sit here while we go do stuff?
I was actually going to suggest that perhaps I go with to make sure no one falls in a ditch and dies. And then you four... reinforce the town, see if there's nothing that can be done for the fallen victims, see if a decision can be made while we're away.
I wouldn't mind coming with you, Antigone, just to get the details for the hero's arc.
Fine, but if you fall in a ditch, I'm leaving you.
That's fair.
Theodore stretches out on the, lays down on the blanket that Christos put out and is like, no, I'm good here.
Antigone's gonna look for Talia. It's okay. Us two are really the only active muses anyway. Those three's dominions are passive.
I'm gonna find something to throw at
Christos is
you.
gonna like pull up his shirt and be like, "With this 6-pack, I work hard for this."
What's Krista's second
Yeah, and you
specialty
do most
again?
of your work laying down.
My specialty is staying power, and I do have a D8 in athleticism.
He does stuff. Stuff.
On his back.
He is physically fit, though, per the description of his character. He's a young John Stamos.
I'm not denying that.
The facts are the facts.
So, Nico, are you hanging out with the cool kids, or are you going on a hike?
Nerds get shit done.
I'll follow on the hike. Maybe there'll be some romantic things I'll find in the wilderness.
Oh, I don't think it's
Yeah,
that
like
type
that.
of hike.
Yeah, we're not stopping for you to jerk off.
All right, so in this instance, what I'm going to do is we're going to do a heroic montage. The two who are staying behind, are you actually going to spend time and energy trying to help, like, fortify and prepare the village?
I feel like Theodore would use kind of like her ability to like persuade people and like organize shit to try to like get them be like, all right, like get the weak people into like the like secure buildings, like let's fortify this, like move people. We got a deadline.
I'm just imagining, like, you, Twink, into the building!
Christos is actually going to use one of his resources.
Okay.
I have a John in every city, so I would like to visit. We'll call him Patrick. And I want Patrick
A real Greek name there, Patrick.
to give me the lowdown on Demetrius and Talia, and kind of like what he knows about them, their backgrounds, like motivations, I want to find out which one of them's kind of like actually has some heroic qualities, because they're both kind of, mediocre.
Okay. So I will say, using that ability, we'll just cut to it's you sort of enjoying, like, I'm cutting to an image of you like pouring wine for him and being like, so tell me what's up. And then like before you even give him the wine, you just start drinking it. And you're like, so what's the gossip? And he does let you know with your resources that Demetrius is a local soldier, local born, worked his way up the ranks. He's been in the conflict on Athens' side for a while. There was a period of time where like he had to leave the city because it was being held by Boeotia. And he only came back when the army was successful again and took back the town. Legitimate, like his military record is real. He's put in actual work. The townsfolk like him because he is local born. Talia is more reclusive. John doesn't know very much about Talia, other than her entire family has always lived outside of the town. Whenever they've been seen, her brother used to be seen more regularly. Was working with the forces that from Boeotia who were occupying the city, or the village, I should say. And her father died a couple of years ago, and her brother has been missing ever since the victory a couple months ago.
And so, if Patrick, had a sense motive role, does he? Which one does he like better? Does he?
I mean, everybody in town likes Demetrius for the most part. He's a little bit of a braggart. He's the kind of person that would like brag about his accomplishments and maybe drink a little too much at a party. But he's well liked by the city, by the village. He's not a bully. Like, he's not particularly mean or like hurtful to people. He's just a little full of himself.
Okay, that gives me what I want, I guess.
Shit, it's gonna be the man, isn't it?
I think it's gonna be whoever we pick.
Yeah, but I don't want to pick the man, but we should.
And so for you, because you were trying, Theodora, I have a 12 if you as the dice difficulty, and I had one opportunity come up.
Ooh, okay. Let me see. So, trying to figure out what would be the best to roll with. Well, I'm going to do logos because that's persuasiveness. Because I'm trying to be like, y'all need to do this thing.
Yeah, and as I say, as you return to town, you found that in the courtyard, there's a number of the people who were, or in the town square, there's a number of people who were attacked by the other villagers, who are like all worked up and basically milling around in it, trying to figure out like, well, what are we gonna do? Now it's getting worse. Not only is the land being poisoned, but something's changing the people who live in this village. First they were falling unconscious, now they're attacking people. Like, we have to think about our food supply. Winter isn't that far off.
We ain't got time to worry about this. We gotta save the town right now. So I'm gonna do logos. I'm gonna do. What do I want my value to be? Maybe loyalty, because I'm trying to like get them to on my side.
You're trying to convince them to like band together.
Okay, now I need to figure out what my distinction. I was leaning towards, so one of my distinctions, my quirk that I have was she doesn't even go here, because it was supposed to be like me acting in a situation which would be like not typical for like a Greek woman to do. So kind of like,
I mean, leading a town to defend themselves would be an appropriate situation for that, yeah.
Alright, and this might be a stretch, but I'm gonna try. No, never mind.
Okay.
I was gonna say my trade negotiation to try to be like persuasive.
No, not in this instance. There's not like you're not.
I'll give you 3 apples if you get inside that building and stay there until the goose is gone.
All right, let me roll. I have to beat a what again?
12 is the
Okay.
difficulty that I set.
Evan is rolling rocks tonight.
I'm actually rolling the number of dice I'm supposed to be. I was missing a dice the first time we played.
Well, I failed spectacularly because I have 2 hitches.
I will buy both of them. What size dice are they?
A D8 and a D6.
A D8 and a D6. Okay, I have a D6 and a D8 in my pool now.
How dare
Yeah.
you?
Theodora does no convincing, and they're all gonna die, and I think she'd be okay with that.
Yeah,
They don't
you're
wanna
like you
listen
end
to
up
her.
being they end up being really recalcitrant to deal with you. They're like, I don't believe that, and they're like, what do you even know? And then you get real frustrated with them and just get sassy. And after a certain point, they're like, you're just a woman.
Oh, 100%. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Let the entire town get destroyed. I don't give a shit. I'm gonna go find someplace that will pour me the biggest glass of wine, so I can be like, fuck this town. I hope the gander eats them all.
And then Christos pours a glass of wine, and then hands Patrick the glass, and then just starts drinking out of it. Or
And I will then take from this I had still had a D8 in the pool. I will give you I will use that D8 as an effect dice. I'll give you a D8 of wrath. As
That's
you're just
fair.
like fucking over all of this. You are done. This town is bullshit.
This is why I don't go to the outlying towns.
Peasants.
But honestly, fucking peasants.
And then we'll jump cut to the other 3 who are now in the hillsides around, approaching the mountain. You have both Talia and Demetrius with you. Demetrius at this point has been animatedly telling you several of the tales of his time in the military, including like a recent battle that he was in not too long ago, where he's kind of depicting like how the unit that he was with like faced down twice their number.
Antigone for this trip is going like full Spartan and is like twice the length ahead of everyone else, and so just cannot hear any of this. I'm just like, keep up.
Phoebe is listening to Demetrius, and like every time he tells a story, being like, interesting, and then turning to Talia and being like, and what was the time when you experienced, what was your greatest weakness? What's your greatest, like, whatever story he just told, making her tell like a vaguely similar story.
I was like, you're like a college admissions essay prompt.
Yeah, you're.
I mean,
100%.
it's basically a job interview.
Can you tell
When
me
was-
about a time where you overpromised and how did you handle that situation?
Can you tell me a time when you took on a leadership role in a group?
What about an interpersonal conflict? How did you solve it?
Can you use a specific example, not a general example? If you kind of grill her a little bit, and she's kind of reluctant to open up to you. She tells you more just like her experiences working in the woods. I mean, her family has always been very like focused on providing for themselves. Her brother was more interested in going into town than she was, and he eventually ended up joining the military. She helped the military for a little while just with like travel. She would provide like guides to the local area for both sides of the military.
Okay.
Yeah, for both the Boeotians and the Athenians.
I'm just letting you know I'm tapping into my personality profiling specialty, and throughout this kind of episode with the two potential heroes, trying to figure out each of their fatal flaws.
All right, so I'm actually going to make that a roll then. If you're trying really hard to figure out something about them.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely doing it over this whole little expedition.
The difficulty is going to be a 12.
Okay. I'm gonna say in this instance it's gonna be senses. We're gonna go, Proclaimer of Heroes, because that's what we're looking at here. I'm gonna use my personality profiling specialty. And for value, we're definitely going with truth, because I'm looking to get to the bottom of this. And I'm gonna go ahead and step down my hinder my Proclaimer of Heroes and take a plot point.
Oh, you're hindering Proclaimer of Heroes. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I do have one hitch.
Okay.
And my difficulty was 12, you said?
Your difficulty was a 12, yes.
Yeah, no, I have an 11, and I can't use the plot point I just earned. Correct.
You would have to have had the plot point, I believe, to spend.
You can spend a plot point to use a hero dice to roll an extra dice.
Yeah, and that happens after the roll happens, so you can still add a hero dice on.
Or you can just spend a plot point to add.
Well, that would
to the pool. So like,
yeah.
Right now you've got an 11 with 2 dice. You can spend a plot point to just choose 3 dice.
Yeah, and I will say I am going to buy that, buy off that hitch. Instead of taking any more dice to my pool, I am going to actually give you, in this time of talking to both of them, you're kind of falling victim to the like, oh, well, neither of them are really like the nicest person. And you're starting to think a little bit more about like how you've made some more personal struggles than a lot of the heroes that you've been recently conscripting. And I'm going to say you have a D6 of narcissism now.
Okay. Well, we're gonna make things real spicy. I'm gonna use my peek behind the curtain special effect to step up my ill omen so that I can re-roll my senses from this.
All right, let's do it. So you're gonna step up your ill omen.
Good.
So
I
you
spend my own plot point.
are going to focus on better understanding the threads of fate that have brought you here. When you do so, you risk the ire of the fates, and so therefore you bring on your own self potential for pain and suffering.
No. No. That did nothing for me. But so just an 11. That's the best I got. So these guys are just making me narcissistic.
Can you not spend a plot point to add a die?
I don't think I can spend the plot point because I just earned it with this roll.
Yeah, you can if you just hindered yourself.
Oh, I can. We'll go ahead and spend it then, and that bumps me up to I was an 11 to a 13. So I just
13. Okay, so you just managed to succeed. You're trying to figure out which of them seem like legitimate and what you can figure out about them as heroes. The whole exercise sort of leaves you a little bit like not convinced that either of them are the best hero possible. And like you've been having a bad run of luck the last few heroes where like you've been having to deal with like some rough cloth to make them work. And so you're feeling a little full of yourself, which has led you to feel a little like narcissistic. And you're feeling like maybe your luck is not going the best way it's ever gone lately. Like, what if this is you? Are you just having bad luck right now? But you like listening to their stories a little bit more. Demetrius sounds very like enthusiastic. The vibe he's giving you is very like he is a soldier. This is the life he signed up for. Like it's his drive to stand out from the crowd. Like he wants to be a like known hero and military like master essentially, because he is from the small town of Oropos. Like there was not a lot of opportunity for him to gain distinction in town unless he became like a really powerful trader or merchant. So like this is his chance to just not be some kid from some backwater town. And then for her, you get the feeling like her family she grew up very insular. She didn't like a lot of the townsfolk. She didn't really enjoy their presence all that much. And she didn't seem to have much care for either side of the military, either of the countries, either Boeotia or Athens, and them taking over the town. In her mind, like the concerns of the town are different from her concerns.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, that's Phoebe's trademark reaction. So, interesting.
Well, I'm going to say it's 8:45, so why don't we take a quick 5-minute break, and then we'll circle back here after that. So, for everyone who's watching, thank you for joining us so far. We're just going to take a little breather, stretch our legs. If you mentioned before, if you want to learn more about Proclaimers of Heroes, you can check out our Twitter down below in our About section, or alternatively, if you want to just see some more adventures with us, we run every Sunday our home game at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Obra, a D&D 5th edition setting. Catch you in just a few minutes.